Alright, Chef Buck here. Today, I'm gonna eat some raw broccoli.
Amazing!
Isn't that an exciting cooking video? But I've been trying to eat more raw broccoli, and I've been doing a pretty good job because I found a way that I like to eat it, because I don't mind broccoli. You know, if you steam broccoli or if you cook broccoli, I like to put it in casseroles and cook it, you know, especially with cauliflower. I love cauliflower, but you know, you gotta mix things up. And broccoli is super healthy, especially if you eat it raw. You know, because it's you know, a natural raw vegetable acts like a rotor-rooter if you eat raw vegetables, which is important as you get older, and it has a lot of health benefits. I think you see better. I think you can run faster. It makes you smarter. It's like I had a lizard when I was a kid. Like Charlie was like a little, wasn't a gecko or something, but we were playing catch with Charlie one time, and I went to grab him, and I grabbed him by the tail, and his tail came off. Little Charlie's tail came off, and I fed him raw broccoli, and his tail grew back.
Oh, Lord.
You know?
That's every lizard in Florida.
Is it?
Yes.
Maybe. Because I had an Uncle Louie, and he lost his hand in a wood chipper. And I mean, he ate broccoli like every day for like 5 years, and you know, his hand never came back.
Imagine.
But anyway, the secret to eating raw broccoli and saying raw broccoli is to put it in a Waldorf salad.
Oh my gosh.
We're gonna make a Waldorf salad first thing. Boom, Waldorf salad. Okay, so boom, we're gonna throw our simple Waldorf salad dressing together, which is really just a bunch of mayonnaise. You don't have to use mayonnaise, you can use yogurt. But the thing is, you know, we want it to be super duper delicious and tasty. So using mayonnaise, it's just really good with mayonnaise.
Says the Southern guy.
You know, and plus we're putting broccoli in there. We're gonna have a raw apple in there. We're gonna have celery. I mean, it's already gonna be so healthy. You know, just have, you know, the mayonnaise is the badness of the mayonnaise will be overshadowed by the goodness of everything else. You can just use mayonnaise by itself. You don't have to do anything else. But I like to put a little bit of lemon. And I like to use fresh lemon. You can use some jarred lemon juice, but fresh lemon is always fantastic. Plus, you can use the zest.
Yay!
The zest adds zing.
Smells great.
Yep, fresh lemon zest, man. That's the way to go, dude. Just give it a little chop, chop, chop type chop. Boom, so we'll throw our zest in there. You know, but I'm going to go ahead and squeeze all of my lemon juice in there. And I'm going to go ahead and use it all. So give it a nice uber duper super duper squeeze. I'm going to throw a little bit of black pepper in there. A little bit of salt. And I'll just whisk it up. And that's all there is to it. Keeping it super simple. Boom, boom, boom. Alright, so now we're just going to get a big bowl to hold our main Waldorf salad ingredients. Boom, a little bit of celery. Now I talk about raw vegetables being a rotor-rooter. You know, for your insides, this celery is like the ultimate rotor-rooter. Boom, boom. And you can make these pieces as big or small as you like.
Smaller.
And we'll toss these in our bowl. It's not the most nutritious, but it's got, you know what, -5 calories. I think for every 100 pounds of celery you eat, you lose a half a pound. Something like that. But anyway, it's going to add a nice crunch to this salad, although we're using apples. Too, which has a great crunch. Apples, give those a good wash. Leave the skin on there. And again, chop it up into whatever sizes you like. But nice big chunks of apple. And I like to make sure and get all the pieces I can from around the core, because I'm paying for it.
You can eat the core.
I think my grandpa used to eat the core apples, you know, but
My dad did too.
everybody's grandpa. You know, like, you know, those people that grew up in the Depression and all that stuff, they'll eat the core of anything. Your dad was one of those South Georgia country folk. They eat the rind on a watermelon, don't they? They
Damn.
eat chicken feet, chicken noses. They eat everything.
Whatever.
Alrighty, so I'm going to have this is like 2 kind of medium-sized apples, all chopped up into some various sized chunks. You know, you don't want it to be too uniform. You don't want it to look like a robot made it. I got a little bit of walnut. You know, I went ahead and toasted these walnuts up a little bit. But you know, sometimes I don't toast them. Sometimes I just use pecans. Pecans or walnuts are nice. Toasting them up is nice.
Pecans.
And really, this is all you need for a Waldorf salad. You know, apple, walnut, celery, boom, and a little bit of mayonnaise. That's all you need. Some people like to put grapes. I'm not that big into the grapes when it comes to the Waldorf salad, although today I am going to put some raisins, some nice dark raisins.
So technically, you got grapes in there.
But they're raisins, so it's a different texture.
Right.
And now I'm going to go ahead and throw my mayonnaise and my lemon mixture in here before I chop up my broccoli. It'll keep my apple from discoloring. The sooner you get the apple covered up, you know, the prettier it'll look, the better it'll keep visually. So let me go ahead and toss this. You know, a Waldorf salad, I mean, that is such a terrific flavor. You know, it's so many fantastic, tasty, nutritious ingredients. And now you can use this wonderful dish to mask the ill effects of raw broccoli.
What is wrong with you?
I mean, broccoli's okay, but raw broccoli really sucks.
What?
You know, but, you know, it tastes good in a Waldorf salad. And I'm going to use all of this broccoli. You know, that ratio might be a little bit off. This might be too much broccoli. But the thing is, I'm not using the stem of the broccoli at all. You know, I'm not using this big hunk and, I don't know, what do you call this? The stem, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, I can't think
We
of
can
another
put that
word
in a
for it.
different recipe.
But this here I'll use
Yeah.
in a different dish. You know, we'll use this in a soup, or we'll chop this up into super fine pieces or smaller pieces and saute it. But we'll definitely cook this. I don't want to eat this raw. You know, but the florets, I can handle the florets raw. The rest of this here, I can just break it up, you know, into some smaller chunks. And I'm telling you, if you're trying to get some raw broccoli into your system, you know, throwing it in a Waldorf salad just really works for me, and I think it'll work for you too. Now, some people like to add a little bit of sugar into a Waldorf salad, but you don't have to. I mean, the apple is sweet enough. You know, I think I got plenty of broccoli in here. I'm not going to put all of this in here. So you just gotta eyeball it and get to whatever ratio you like. I know, you know, like when you were a kid, you know, when your mom or dad would tell you that the broccoli monster was coming.
What?
You know, because that's why people don't like broccoli. Because, you know, when you're a kid, you know, your parents tell you stuff like that.
That's a lot of loud chewing.
You know, the broccoli isn't the overwhelming taste here. It's the zing of the lemon, the tang of the mayonnaise, and then the sweetness of the apple. You get a hint of the broccoli. You know, it's almost like a fine broccoli wine. There's just some broccoli notes. Want a super secret weapon to get some raw broccoli into your system so that you don't hate it? Make a Waldorf salad, hide it in there. Your kids won't even know. You know, just make sure that they wear like an eye mask or something so they can't see it. All right, camera girl's gonna do her test bite.
You got a big
Here's the
spoon.
slow-mo. Look at that. You talk about my bite being huge, man. Come on. You're not gonna be able to answer for 5 minutes. Look how broccolicious that looks. Link down below if you want to print the recipe out. Or go to myfoodchannel.com. You know, I'll have some tips and tricks. If you got a better way to eat raw broccoli, you can suggest it down below.
Yes.
But thanks for watching and subscribing and liking and doing all that busy secretarial stuff at the end of the video. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you in the future. Bye-bye.